Hello again, I'm Mario the Artisan Rogue. Tonight I'm going to be drawing again and talking for a while about some stuff. And I haven't thought of a theme for this one, so I'm just going to see what comes to mind and kind of sketch and doodle for a little while and see what comes of it. I had been really inspired these last couple days because, I'd been watching some Twitch streams and some other stuff, and I'm one of those people that I'm grateful for the Twitch streams that are out there, the ones that, really all of them for the most part. There's a few that I don't normally watch. There's different kinds of Twitch streams out there. There's the kind that, are people painting or people building something or people just chatting. The gaming ones can be pretty fun. Sometimes it depends. A lot of times what takes away for me is somebody that doesn't do enough talking during it, or somebody that does too much talking. I probably fall into the too much talking aspect of it. And I'm not even yet on Twitch. I'm still producing a lot of it for YouTube content right now, working out the rough edges and that sort of stuff. So let me go ahead and get started here. I've already started up with a bit of toned paper on this. So let me think here. Oh man, I'm not even really sure where to go with this. So, what's been going on these days? Let me see here. Just start with something and see where I go with this. Sometimes I like to come in and just start, with basic shapes. Like, I have an idea that I want to draw somebody, but I'm not really sure where this is going to go or what's going to happen with this sort of thing. And it's I do a lot of drawing like this. I used to carry a sketchbook around that was just full of like really pretty terrible ideas and just, things that I would want to get out. And sometimes like I'll be working on just that, like this initial sketch part of it, and something about it won't really work for me. And I end up thinking to myself like, well, what am I doing with this? Where am I going to go with this? And I think that for the most part, some of this is just practice so that way I can kind of get back into, like, because I have my hit and miss moments where I'll be drawing and I'll be really happy about something I've put together or something along that line, and felt like, okay, well then this is gonna work out okay or whatever. And the really cool thing about this is, at least working digitally, is I can keep refining and building and lightening my pencil lines because of the opacity, like I just did right there, or the fill. Kind of the same thing. I always wondered in Photoshop what the real difference was between a fill and opacity. I'm certain there's something that it has to do with like alpha channels, or I don't know, something well outside of my knowledge base about Photoshop. I was thinking about that the other day. Not this computer that I have back here. That's my Mac. I have a Windows 98 machine that, knock on wood, still works. And when I got it, it had Windows 95 on it. And that's the one that I have Photoshop 5.5 loaded on. And I've been trying to figure out how I would be able to actually screen capture and stream from that, just to see if it was even possible. I've seen people do it with even older systems, so I imagine something like that is possible. Hadn't really thought about it much, like the technical aspect of it or anything else like that, but I thought that would be kind of funny. So I'm not really sure where this is going here. Like I said, this is just kind of thinking some stuff out and seeing what this is going to be. That might be something. I'll come back to that. Start another layer. Sometimes I do this where I'll kind of, think up some things that I want to try, and then see if something sticks with me, and then, or if there's something interesting that starts to happen, with something oh, well, this is already turning into something kind of cool, kind of goblin-esque. Yeah, that might be something to save for later. Not sure. It's almost like the guy was kind of no. So the guy was kind of leaning forward this way. looking out that way. We'll come back to that. I really do love drawing right behind skulls. I really do like drawing sort of goblin-like creatures. I think there's something fascinating about them. I didn't, and you know, this kind of came about recently. I had, you know, when I used to play Magic the Gathering, I used to completely despise goblin horde decks and that sort of thing, mainly because a buddy of mine, Ray, would destroy me with them. He played with weenie decks and green, red, black. What is it, sapperlings? Or no, what was it? I can't even remember. There was a particular, no, thralls, and there was a green weenie deck creature too that used to drive me completely nuts. I want to say it was sapperlings. That's probably not wrong. I haven't played Magic the Gathering since I got out of it shortly after Ice Age. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Magic the Gathering was the kind of the grandfather, I would guess, the very first of the collectible card games that really hit big and became this phenomenon. And I don't think a lot of people realized how big that game was going to get. And I was right in there in the heyday. I have like my league membership card, 'cause I used to play in tournaments and things like that and love the hell out of it. But I don't really, I do know. My appreciation for little orcs and goblin-y things started coming about. I used to play Warhammer Fantasy a lot, and I used to go to Sedalia, Missouri. There was a gaming shop up there that had I'd go up there with a few friends of mine, and we'd play Warhammer Fantasy from like 8 o'clock at night until probably sometimes 1 or 2 in the morning on like a Thursday night. It would kill me because I had to be up the next morning and all this other stuff, but it was a lot of fun, you know, and you know, same group of people I went to with Games Day in 2001, all this other stuff. I don't get to game like that as much anymore. In fact, I was going through one of my cases. I have a glass case that eventually is gonna hold my Dark Elf army. Man, I'm really jumping around tonight on the subject matter, aren't I? So, sorry about that. That's really how my brain. You guys are getting a very exclusive look into what my head is like whenever I'm drawing. It's literally that. It jumps all over the place, and I end up with all these like weird sort of like, you know, thought processes that come in, all this other sort of thing, where I don't even really give it a whole bunch of, you know, staying power on certain things. It'll jump from one thing to another. Like I'm thinking right now, I'm like, okay, well, I clearly drew his ear up too high here. You know, what am I going to do with this? That sort of a thing. I'm like, okay, yes, that's looking okay. So maybe I'm doing something different here. Let's start over on that one. We'll do a different one. Oh, something I am excited about. You'll notice the microphone isn't here. If I'm looking up here, I got the preview on my screen. There's no microphone down here. So this is actually the first video I'm doing with a brand new toner microphone up here. So I got this whole arm set up. It's really nuts. I'm going to be doing, there's a review I'm doing of this, and this part of this section of the video might actually be part of it. But I had wanted something so that when I was bumping the tape and bumping my desk, I wouldn't get all these things that I had to try and either edit out or just accept that they were on the audio of the video. And so I thought to myself, well, you know, can I find something that would work? And I am endlessly looking for, like, you know, any reviews I can find that would be like about, you know, the you know, new tech out there that'll help me sound better on, you know, recording and things like that. And I'm always looking for stuff like that. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I can find something that'll help me sound better. And I just stumbled across this guy that had a YouTube channel, of course, and he was doing tech reviews. and he recommended the toner arm because I was just looking for an arm and I was going to mount my Yeti microphone on there. And he did a great review of it, and I was like, okay, no, all right, I'm going to check out this arm. And I had a budget roughly of about $70, and I know you can get these expandable arms for like $30 or so, but they, like anything, whether it's, those are kind of like Manfrotto, fake Manfrotto arms, which are like camera arms that you can adjust and vise into positions to hold your camera. If you go cheap, man, you're going to be sorry. Like, that's just ultimately what ends up happening, because, I'm not saying spend the best for everything, because you can get by with stuff. I did for a long time when I was setting up a lot of this stuff. I would just use my iPhone or whatever I had to be able to record videos and that sort of thing. But I kept wanting to upgrade this sort of thing, so that way I would get to the what I deemed acceptable enough for me. Something that, the audio would sound good, and I would be able to draw and do whatever I needed to do on here to, make something entertaining for people to be able to watch, hopefully. And but this, I'm sorry, I'm digressing again. This toner set, for the same price that this other arm I had been looking at, that was like around $79, I got a microphone, the shock mount, which is like a metal ring that has basically elastic hair bands, giant ones that allow it to float, and they absorb the shock of any noises on the table. It came with that, the power cord, some Velcro straps to hold it on, and also some sound baffling foam covers and things, and a windscreen. It was great, and I paid the exact same price. I paid basically, I think actually $3 cheaper, $74 for it. And so far, looking at the monitor and everything, it seems to be picking up. It's a cardioid microphone, pretty decent one too. I've tested it a couple times prior, but this is going to be the first time I'm really going through it all the way. So if I end up ruining this, you guys will never see this video. But I needed to check it out and see what it was going to do. All right, so here we've got kind of a weird little, it's the other thing I do. I'll tend to like scrunch my face up when I'm drawing and, mimic what I'm seeing here. So if I start making faces, it's just because when I was in school, I used to look, just like a lot of animators do, they would kind of look over and see themselves in the mirror and make some decisions on what they were going to draw or how it was coming along, that sort of a thing. Okay, that's kind of cool. Let me see what I can do in here. Let's start doing some dark lines on this. Not real dark. Let's start drawing this out. So this tonight isn't really meant to even go as far as anything else I've done. I'm just kind of messing with it to see what I can get out of this. Oh, anyway, I didn't end up finishing what I was talking about with the whole thing about like really liking the orc thing. I think I got sucked into how orcs are and what they are like, because I used to play, one of the people I would play at the comic shop at the gaming place in Sedalia always used orc armies, and that's my friend Michelle, and would often devastate my dark elf army. Now, there's a part of me that wants to say I was a terrible dark elf player, but honestly, she was devastating as an orc player, and probably my favorite games, honestly, because they were the most fun. I was not that great of a player, but I knew what I was doing. But it was one of those things where I was really happy because it was just a game. It was just really fun. I'm terrible at competitive games when it comes down to trying to figure out if, like when it gets down to the nitty gritty, I'm not real great at that. I tend to crack under any pressure. But and it's the same way in Magic the Gathering, which is probably the reason why I got out shortly after Ice Age. I really enjoyed it, and I started buying the cards again because friends of mine illustrate for Wizards of the Coast, and I want to collect their cards and stuff. So this is something weird I also do too. when I'm drawing, I tend to put a lot of line work into things, like just weird little sketch. And most of it is I'm just kind of going back over familiar shapes and things I like to draw. I know that sounds weird, but there's like a weird thing I'll do with graphite, with physical graphite, where I know how it acts, and I finally have gotten used to drawing that way digitally to a certain point, to where I know that, you know, whatever, there's a certain pencil right here, this Groot 1-pin clinger. I love it because it mimics the mechanical pencils I've used in the past. And so this isn't going to be your average brutish kind of orc. Not really. You know what? Let me save this right now while I'm thinking about it. All right. So this is kind of a tired elf. Let's see here. Give him a little bit of a neck flap there. He's got a. Let's see here. It's you know, the other thing I struggle with too, whenever I'm drawing digitally, if I'm just doing it for fun, sort of like this, I have no problem, and it comes closer and closer to like what my physical traditional sketch styling is like. But there's other times whenever I'm doing this that I'll really freak myself out, where I start to go, oh, God, this has got to look a certain way, or it's, you know, whatever the case is, and I end up running myself aground and not enjoying this as much as I should, and that's really a shame. I think everybody, like, even if you say you can't draw or whatever, everybody can draw. Anybody can pick this up and just go with a pencil, because like that's a lot of what I had to do early on. I mean, I've always had some propensity to want to draw. But even after, and this is true right now, I mean, I'm really kind of ashamed to admit this, but it's the truth. Even like this, if I don't continually pick up, you know, anything, even a real pencil to this, I start to lose my ability to, you know, stay halfway in shape doing this sort of thing. It's like anything, you know, you don't play the piano for a while. There's certain things you'll always remember, but then there's always also stuff that like just goes away, and then you're like, ah, damn it, you know. And I run across that all the time. I don't play guitar as much as I should. I don't sing or do as much vocal work for voiceover as I should, because I tend to forget, or I'll get lazy. I'll be honest about that. That's what happens to me a lot of times, and which is a shame. I shouldn't let it get to that point. I really shouldn't. So let me add some darker lines on top of that. Save this. So what are some of the things that you guys that are artists out there, or even if you're not artists, what do you like seeing drawn? You know, what is there something you gravitate toward? You know, is there something that just, it's like, this is it. You know, if told to draw something, this is what I'm going to draw. I always ask people that, because I always wonder, like, what some other people's, you know, defaults are when it comes to this sort of thing. Like, you know, is there something they really enjoy drawing? Is there something they just feel comfortable drawing? And I've always wondered that, because I always feel like, this is going to sound weird, I kind of feel like I hack sometimes, because I'm always reverting back and drawing the same sort of thing over and over again, which, you know, that's probably me just being really severe on myself, but it's the truth. I mean, it's what I feel about, you know, a lot of the stuff I'll do, because I'll show you guys that here in a second. In fact, what I'm doing here with this originally, this whole sideburn thing, this isn't from the fact that I was born in the 70s. This came from the fact that I've always loved, like, the whole kind of fuzzy thing, and, you know, for sideburns and stuff like that. And when I was a younger man, I had some like that I grew that way. I bet a few of you that are watching this might remember that. So anyway, that's okay. It's not great. This isn't, you know, but it's not supposed to be anything more than that. So let's go in here. So one of the things I did, I used to have this drawing. If I find the photo, I'll include it in a different video later on. It's a Polaroid somewhere in some family book, but I used to take Polaroids of like my room when I was growing up. I don't know why. It was the very first time I got really into photography. My mom always had like a little 110 camera. And for those of you that don't know what a 110 camera is, it's essentially like this Kodak camera that looked like this. It was kind of, I always called it the ice cream sandwich of cameras. And there was like, if I'm right, there was like a flash down here. And then I think there was like a recessed area here that had the lens in here, kind of like that. And then there was like a little door that would shut whenever you turned it on. It also had a little, no, it was down here. No, where was it? I think it was, yeah, well, either way, there was this thing that you went, you clicked it that way. You would advance the 110 film. And I believe it was on the bottom because the gear was on the inside. I took one apart one time just to see exactly how they worked. And this is the flash here. So you'd get, the flash would be right there. And then this is the 110 camera there. But, so, hold on one second here. Sorry, I wanted to delete quick. I even totally lost track of where I was. Let me see here. Let me save that. Oh, that's what I was going to say. One of the things, okay, I just suddenly remembered. It took me a second there to bring myself back together. One of the first things I did was I became obsessed. If anyone has ever seen the Hobbit by Rankin Bass, okay, that's the old animated one. Smaug was the dragon in there, and I remember I was fascinated because Smaug, and I'm not going to get this completely right, but let me draw here with some lighter lines. Smaug had this weird, I'd say it was almost cat-like look to him. So, here's the head. He had kind of this weird thing where, and I used to love that because like the animation they did for that, everyone had these like epic eyebrows, but he also had this weird mane that was on either side of his face like that, and he had these big cat-like ears. They were like big bat, and that really inspired me as a kid. I remember thinking like nobody draws better than Rankin Bass, and it wasn't like Disney. It was like just, and now that I think about it, I'm like, it looked like I have to look up a photo of it. I'll put it down here in the corner. I'm not going to look it up right now, but I remember that, he distinctly had these eyes that were like sort of deep set in there. This is probably a really terrible rendition of him, but this is so weird because like now, whenever I draw stuff like this, like as a kid, I remember, see, this is turning more into a werewolf. I remember it really did turn more into a werewolf. I would always draw werewolves and everything with this same sort of feature, and I don't know why. It's like, I guess, you get comfortable drawing something and then it just turns into that. And I just went with it. I never really knew why. I just did. And it was really weird for me because as I would draw these things, I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, why am I going exactly for this particular in fact, I am going to turn this into a bit of a werewolf here. Why would I turn this in, like, why would I draw? I always wondered as a kid, like, why I drew certain things certain ways, and I never understood that about myself, like how certain things stuck with us. And even as a kid, I kind of wondered more and more about that because, as I got to be older. Oh, this is something else I started doing too. I don't remember where I saw this, but somewhere, it may have been something I drew a long time ago, and I just thought about it, and I was like, you know what? That is kind of horrifying. I remember thinking to myself, 2 canines growing out would be really jacked up looking. So, and I remember, when I was in Boy Scouts, studying the way that like these the skulls of predators looked and things like that, and wanting to do something along that line. And so anyway, so this whole thing was about Smog, and somehow I've gotten completely derailed from that, and now I'm drawing a werewolf. But Smog had this face kind of like this, and where it was like this weird kind of pseudo looking creature that just, to me, it didn't look dragon-like, and I really was obsessed with that. Because, I mean, I love European dragon designs, you know, wyverns and the normal type of dragons and things like that. But I became obsessed with the fact that, you know, he didn't really look that way. He looked something like a traditional dragon, but he also had something else going for him that was just surreal. It just looked very odd to me. But it affected how later I ended up drawing everything like this. And so, like, a lot of my werewolves and things like this one here, you know, will have this sort of thing where it looks like almost an emaciated kind of like a coyote or something like that. And the ears are always these weird bat-like things. I spoke about Tim Bradstreet in the last video, and there's some really wicked illustrations in the Werewolf the Apocalypse book. I don't think he did any of those. He might have done some. But whoever was in there had a messed up view of what, like, werewolves would look like, and these weird torn up bat ear sort of things and all this other stuff. And so I really like this sort of thing. So I am so sorry that, like, most of my conversation seems to be so like running all the way around on certain things. Tonight is really just turning into, like, how weird of a sketch can I get out of certain things. And so here, let me go ahead and, oh wait, not this. Yeah, let me go ahead and reduce this down. Let me make this a little bit lighter. Go in here, reduce that one as well too. All right. Save. How long are we into this so far? About 27 minutes. Okay. So this has just been kind of a fun drawing thing, but I guess maybe I can see how far I can push this one here. But, you know, it's weird because I always get to the point where I start getting, when I do these sort of drawings, I always think to myself, like, I'm like, well, that's not really what I want right here. This one isn't looking exactly right, or whatever the case might be. And so I end up wanting to go back in. I'm like, all right, let me try this again. Let me try something different. Let's see where we go with this. Try just starting out with, like, a weird eye thing here. Let's see where this goes. Hopefully you guys are able to hear the music better on this one than before. I had this whole thing where I couldn't get the volume to measure. I don't have a real good way of I have a visual for seeing what the sound is going to be like coming off some of this stuff, but I didn't have anything that I could use, like, aside from, I've got some micro headphones in. I didn't have anything to really base a good way to gauge the sound of what the sound levels were, aside from this visual thing. So the mix this last time for this last video I did was all messed up. All right, so let's do something here. Okay, I really don't know what this is, but let's go with it. It's a mask of some kind. Yeah, we'll turn into that. So maybe this has got some. Oh, that's actually looking kind of cool. All right, so what does this do? Maybe the horns are a little. Maybe they're kind of like an ibex horns. So this wasn't supposed to be teeth, but maybe these are teeth. Some down here like that. Okay. Oh, that's an accidental dragon. But okay, so this is something. Let's see where this is going. Okay, let's make that decision now. Do we want to be open or closed? lines up here. Put those there. Let's go ahead and go. Let's go for an open mouth. So the jawline here, if we were to do an underdrawing to get, so this is actually kind of regressive, but let's switch this out here real quick. So if I was going to do that, okay. So then the jawline would drop down like that. Spinal cord measures down here. We go like that with it. Just draw that on my no, I didn't. Okay, thank God. But I drew that on the primary art. I was gonna go crap. Must have a really good little sketch going on there. So let's just do this. Bring that down just a bit more. Pardon me. Okay. So then I'll bring this up like that. So then, having turned him just a little bit more that way, the horns are visible here. We'll do a reverse horn on this side. Man, this is actually turning out much better than I thought it was going to, but now I definitely want to make the neck bigger. See, this is one of the reasons I like working this sort of abstract thing, and when I was younger, I also used to love scratchboard because I could get away with a lot more on there. Oh, that was dumb. I don't know what I just did right there. I don't like that. Let me get rid of that. Save this. Marvel in the fact that I do not use keyboard shortcut keyboard stuff. My opacity was low. Alright. So I didn't like this jawline here. Let me do something else with this. I'm probably just being oversensitive about this whole thing. Let's give him some small spines along the neck. Not really sure where this is going to go or what's going on with this, but okay. Let's see here. Not really sure why his neck is this long or why he's over here on the side. I have no idea what I'm doing with that. Maybe he's got some. He's got some, stripes there, that sort of thing. Let's move him over. Can I move you over? You know what? This is something about Photoshop I'm really not fond of. Because, like, you can't, like, it seems to me like in past versions of Photoshop you could grab things more generally. Now you've actually got to be, like, on the money with what you're grabbing. So I'm just going to be stupid and use the arrow keys down here. Is it just so? It just seems like like granted, this is first world problems, but whenever I first started using Photoshop, it seemed a lot more intuitive, or not intuitive, but it seemed like there was a little bit more stuff you could pull off and you could get away with that didn't really kill you. Like now, it just seems like if you're not touching the right exact thing, then something goes weird, really wonky with it, or I don't know, maybe I'm just being critical because I'm old. So. This makes me wish I was doing something more with this. Like, now I'm not really sure where to go with this. And I save a lot of these things because I'm like, oh, well, maybe this is something I can use later. Like, this is not a bad looking dragon. Yeah, well, maybe he's a short neck dragon, and maybe he's got a mane down here of some kind. You know, something like that. And he's got a horn here. There's another secondary mane back here. He's got something like that going. So if we were to look at the... how would that work? His neck goes back like that. Probably have shoulder blade there, dropping down. Sternum would be here. Rib cage starting down in here somewhere. Yeah, something like that. So really, this has just turned into you guys watching me just kind of doodle tonight and do some sort of silly stuff with this sort of thing. Okay, so maybe he's just off camera here, and he's actually got these long feet with these claws on them. That and much larger. So it goes back that way. Maybe he's got another one here. Another claw right there. So he's built more like a really jacked up looking dinosaur of some kind. Not really sure. I'm kind of fascinated by this now. This wasn't anywhere where I thought it was going to be, considering what I started off with. This isn't remotely what I thought I was going to be messing with. So maybe, you know, okay, let's take this a little further. Let's pick a different color here. Or let's just do slightly different color. So maybe there's, you know, we can look at what would a harness look like this, you know, for him? You know, is there a harness that goes across? No, let me see here. We'll go a little darker than that. Is there a harness that goes here and goes into the mouth? And maybe, let me see here. I'm trying to remember if we base this off of kind of what a horse's would look like. Does it come back off here? There would probably one that goes across here somewhere. We're going to leave that alone for now. I mean, this is just that maybe there's the hangers here, so there's the hint of these things coming down, resting up here. That and that one's back here, coming up on there. So maybe this isn't. Maybe this is more of a saddle. Up here, the beginnings of a saddle up in there, that sort of thing. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Yeah, see, this is so weird now. I kind of really even dig it being in white. I don't know that there's anything else I want to do with that. So, oh man. Well, this is probably the most meandering drawing I've ever done. This really didn't turn into anything. Oh no, I can't say that. I mean, going back, looking at this here, where did we start? We started with what, leaning guy, and then we built upon that and kind of did a little bit of a goblin-y thing, but that wasn't working. And then we turned him to the side, and you know, kind of got a decent little sketch out of it. You know, just some fun playing around. Nothing big with that. Looks all right. You know, nothing too exciting there. Gave him a little more detail, and then we went to this weird comparison where I was trying to do something that was going to turn into smog, but it really didn't. And, oh, there's a blank thing there. And so, you know, that's as far as I took it with the werewolf idea. And then using some building layers, just kind of came up with, I'll take that stuff out there. So I'm actually rather happy with that. That's kind of cool. I'm certain there's something I can use this for. And, you know, sometimes it's just messing around with that. Like, I didn't have any anticipation of doing more than just doodling, and I came up with kind of a neat idea for, you know, a somewhat, you know, westernized looking dragon that has a little bit of, you know, maybe there's a little bit of a hint of influence in there from Dark Crystal or something else like that in there. Not really sure. So, either way, okay, that's good enough for tonight. And, yeah. Man. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I will probably go ahead and switch gears, and while I've got my stuff going, jump into a game tonight. There is one I'm going to be playing in the next few days. So I've got to preface this by saying that there's been a few opportunities I had that just the circumstances of them coming up were just bizarre. So they kind of made my choice for one of the games that I'm going to try out, but I'm not sure which one I'm going to play tonight. I'll figure that out here in just a bit. It's like 1:26 in the morning. It's so weird. Now I've actually really gotten used to streaming at night. Or not streaming, I'm sorry. I'm getting myself psyched up to say I'm going to start streaming at night. Recording at night. And then processing and then delivering the video the next morning. In a perfect world, the more I do this sort of thing, the more I'm really wanting to get into the whole, jumping in and doing a stream for up to 2 to 6 hours, something like that. Seeing how that works out. I know for a fact when I first start streaming, I might have 1 or 2 people maybe watch me, and if I'm lucky, I'm trying not to count my chickens before they hatch, sort of thing. And it's really even not about that. For me, a lot of it was the more I begin to discover what Twitch works like and how it works, the more I'm like, oh, it's not just me getting out there and doing this. It's really doing what I'm doing with the camera right now with nobody live and dealing with people in live interactions and that sort of thing. So we'll see. I'm still learning, so we'll see how that all pans out. But thanks for watching my doodling tonight, guys. I had fun. I hope you guys did too. And I will catch you guys in the next video where I will actually have some sort of kind of plan or some idea for what I'm going to do on that. So till then, take care.